back because I predict these things.
Josh Hokit takes on Max Gimenis this Saturday at UFC Fight Night. And this is two high-level grapplers squaring off against each other. Josh Hokit was a two-time All-American at Fresno State. Was also a linebacker there and a California State Wrestling champ. So very credentialed wrestler. Played on the 49ers for a little bit, I think, on the practice squad, and then decided to make the jump over to MMA. 6-0, undefeated, taking on Max Gimenis, who's a very high-level black belt. I think he's like a world champion, and has experience grappling against Gordon Ryan, Nicky Rod. So a lot of high-level experience in the jiu-jitsu department, gi and no gi. So going to be interesting between these two. Max Gimenis, 6-1, so very similar record. Hasn't fought the level of competition, I would say. Neither of these guys have fought top-tier competition, but Max Gimenis, you look at these guys that he's fighting and a lot of losing records that I'm seeing. He was knocked out in his third fight by a guy who was 2-4 at the time, who's now 3-4. So I would give the experience advantage to Josh Hokit just because he did come up in Bellator and LFA, which are probably the two best organizations outside of the UFC, and took on a guy who was 6-1 in Guillermo Uriel, who's also a jiu-jitsu black belt on Dana White's Contender Series. I'm not gonna lie though, I wasn't impressed with that performance. He struggled to get the guy to the ground, was eating some strikes on the feet at a point in that fight, ate a right hand, was eating some jabs, kind of spun away from Uriel at one point and looked kind of desperate to get the fight to the ground. And his opponent, Uriel, just kind of gassed out, At the end of that first round, he was pretty much gassed. The beginning of the second round was taken out very easily, gave up mount, was just TKO'd. So I wonder how that fight would go if he was taking on, a legit heavyweight who was taking his career seriously and was in shape, had some good cardio. And, I wonder if Max Gimenis is that guy. He's going to be 30 pounds heavier, going to be a little older at 32 years old, but going to have the ability to, I would imagine, to defend some of these takedowns and not just be a complete fish out of the water when it does hit the ground, the way that a lot of Josh Hokit's opponents have been. But Josh Hokit, I can't get past his athleticism. For the lack of size that he has in the division, he makes up for his athleticism. Really good takedowns, really good top control, really good ground and pound. I imagine he'll be able to kind of stay safe on top if he does go there to land the better ground and pound on Max Gimenis and not let him get any real offense going. And I think this is going to be the fight where, Josh Hokit keeps it on the feet. I think he's going to test out his boxing. He comes from a really good gym in Jackson Winklejohn, so I imagine he's working on the hands. I think that he'll be able to keep this one on the feet, land the better strikes, and kind of stay out of the submission threat from Max Gimenis. Max Gimenis, again, no slouch. Started martial arts when he was young. I think like the age of 10, starting in judo. Obviously transitioned to jiu-jitsu. The little that I've seen in his MMA fights, he's got decent striking. The way that he moves on the feet, throwing good kicks, mixes it up well to get his takedowns. Strong passes, heavy ground and pound to get the wins. But getting knocked out from by a guy who was 2-4 early in your career, going to a decision with a guy who's 6-14, who's now 9-20, not being able to get the finish over that guy when you're a high-level jiu-jitsu guy. Your other wins, 9-9 guy, 7-8 guy. I think Josh Hokit, he's green and he might not have looked the best, but again, 6-0, only 6 fights at a good gym. I imagine he's going to be making drastic improvements, and I think that he'll be able to rely on his speed and athleticism and wrestling ability in this one. And I think that he can get the knockout over Max Gimenis. I think that he can mix it up a little bit better on the feet, just from the little that I've seen. He's got fast hands, he's got power. And I think that if he does get it to the ground, he can wear on Max Gimenis. I imagine Josh Hokit's got the better cardio than Max Gimenis when it does go to the ground, just dealing with the high-level wrestling that he's had in his career. And I think that he'll be able to land the better ground and pound. So I'm going to go with Josh Hokit in this one. I think this could easily be a fraud check coming his way, though. Getting submitted on the ground, not being able to get the grappling going that he wants to, and potentially getting surprised on the feet. But I'm going to lean on the prospect in Josh Hokit to get this one done. Thanks.